In 1966, the Chicago Bears drafted the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner in the 4th round. Doug Buffone would go on to play 15 seasons for the Bears and later be named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. His allegiance to the Bears never waned, even when he took to the microphone and witnessed some horrendous Bears teams.
The fact is, there's not the fear put into them, because this game is a lot about fear. You either do the job, or you go home and go sell hamburgers at McDonald's.
Doug told it like it is, and that's part of the reason his nephew John has dedicated this show to Doug. And now John Buffone is spreading Buffone-branded beratements just like his uncle.
Being a Chicago Bears fan is like being in a toxic relationship that you can't get out of. I think I'm finally done, and then they come back and they say, well, things are going to be different this time. I've changed. We've got receivers now. We've got the quarterback now. And even though I've heard this song and dance before, I go back every time.
And he's got pep talks too.
I love this team. And I know everyone watching and listening loves this team. So while we may be pessimistic and cynical, every one of us still has hope that the stars will align at some point. And if that ever does happen, you'll be glad you stuck around.
John is telling it like it is here on Buffone 55. And joining John are Alyssa Barbieri, managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire, and also Danny Shimon, lead game and draft analyst for the Barroom Network. Buckle up and bear down. This is Buffone 55, the John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Buffone 55, a fast-paced approach at breaking down the 4-2 Chicago Bears. My name is John Buffone, and how about those Chicago Bears, winners of 3 straight? The last 2 victories, Chicago has won by an average of 23 points. If they were in the NFC West, they'd be in first place. They'd be tied for first in the NFC East and the NFC South. But that's besides the point. The biggest story is their number 1 draft pick is showing every signs of being a true franchise quarterback. He's a leader on the field, a dedication to being the best. He has the athletic skills to make those wow plays and the smarts to read modern NFL defenses. We may be witnessing the birth of the greatest Chicago Bears quarterback in team history. Am I getting ahead of myself? Maybe, but I don't care. Let me bring in my 2 partners tonight. Alyssa Barbieri from USA Today's Football Wires, including Bears Wire, and the Barroom's game and draft analyst, Danny Shimon. First of all, Alyssa, welcome back. I hope you and your loved ones are well after going through those terrible tornadoes and hurricanes that hit your home state of Florida. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We got it was as good as possible. I mean, there was a tornado outbreak in the area, but everything was good. Just had to deal with lost power for a day or two. So I'm back. I'm ready to talk football because I was bummed. Didn't get to come on and talk about that big one last week, but hey, I got my wish. And there was another big win this week, and I'm excited to talk about that. Caleb Williams.
Absolutely. Danny, how we feeling tonight? I know you're playing a little hurt.
Yeah, I'm playing. I got a little cold, still dealing from a cold here, so I'm got a little bit of a deeper voice. So hopefully, the audience is not too annoyed by my deeper voice here.
Danny bringing it down low. All right, guys, you heard my opening remarks. Is this real? Danny, I'm going to start with you. Is Caleb Williams better than good? Say even possibly great?
No, not yet. Let's pump the brakes. He's getting better. He is getting better, and the key, and we'll break down some more later on in your basement there in terms of some clips where, the offensive line is not great, but it's better than what it was the first 3 weeks, right? They're giving him time. They're allowing him to set his feet, get a solid foundation under him. And then also we saw some play calling here from Shane Waldron where he, some design and that allows him to go ahead and isolate, give him a pretty good read, pre-snap, take a little bit of a Polaroid in terms of what the defense is doing. And then post-snap, he's operating quickly, decisively. He's making NFL type throws. We're going to concentrate on ball placement, and we're going to concentrate later on in the clips on the effects of Keenan Allen and what a healthy Keenan Allen brings to this offense. So stick around for that later on when we get to John's basement.
Alyssa, how do you feel about the general sense of the Bears right now? 4-2, a little bit different from last year.
I mean, how long did it take before they got their fourth win last year? I think, was it November or whatnot? So, I mean, this is a pretty good feeling. I'm trying to remain level-headed when it comes to Caleb Williams, but kind of just like watching him, how he improves each and every week and the things that he's doing that we didn't see from the previous two quarterbacks that they selected in the first round. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but there's just something special about this kid. And I think finally we have the guy, but I'm going to try and temper my expectations.
Let's get ahead of ourselves. Who cares? All right, Danny, we look forward to you breaking down some tape on Caleb and talking more Bears. We'll see you later in the Buffone's Basement segment. Alyssa, please give our audience a quick rundown of how today's show is going to work.
Absolutely. So our first segment is the signature part of the show. That's when I ask John 5 questions that he answers in 55 seconds. John's beloved uncle Doug played 15 years with the Bears, wore number 55, and is the inspiration for the first segment that we call B55. Doug went on to become a very successful businessman, broadcaster, and John channels Doug's energy and passion in this segment. Then after a break to let you know what's happening at the Barroom with our Bears coverage, Danny returns for a segment that we call Buffone's Basement. It's an informal discussion about the Bears, and we have plenty to talk about. In the middle of that segment, we're going to show you the Podfather's latest video essay, and then we're going to finish things up with more of Buffone's Basement and address any questions that our live chat audience might have for us. John, I hope you are ready, because I am ready with my 5 questions.
If you're ready, I'm ready. We're ready. Let's go.
Let's go. So, John, you said last week that you actually get more nervous heading into games the Bears should win, as opposed to the games where they are underdogs. So for this first question, I want to hear about your heart rate during this game against the Jaguars. And did the early game in London have any impact on your viewing experience? Let's put 55 seconds on the clock.
Well, first off, I didn't want to stray away from my normal game day routine, so I got up at 6 a.m. I was in the gym by 7. I grabbed some breakfast burritos on the way home, and I was in front of my TV by kickoff. Then it happened again. The Jaguars drove down the field and scored, much like the Panthers did a week before, and I'm thinking, oh man, this game at 9:30 a.m. is really going to ruin the rest of my Sunday. The cynical Bears fan in me came out right away. Then it happened again. The offense started clicking. The defense got a couple of turnovers. And by the fourth quarter, I was having tea and crumpets. Everything was great. And when the game was over, I was like, oh, man, it's not even 1 p.m. yet. The Bears are 4-2. And I can enjoy a full day of football without any more anxiety. So overall, I love the London game. Why? Because the Bears won. On the other hand, if they would have lost that game in London, there would have been a much different attitude, and I probably wouldn't watch more football today.
Part of it was like, I could kind of get used to them playing this early because not much changed. I mean, we're on the East Coast, so it wasn't as bad for, those in Chicago it's an hour behind. So, I mean, waking up, I rolled out of bed, got the inactives up, and then it was ready to go. And I'm like, okay. And like you said, I think the first quarter, I was, getting a little ahead of myself, getting nervous because those first quarter struggles again. And then it was just fun. Lots of screaming, really excited. Then we had a whole football day ahead of us where you could just sit around, watch football, knowing that the Bears are on a 3-game win streak, 4-2 heading into the bye week. And I mean, I wanted to be in the end zone, doing that little tea celebration, after Keenan Allen's touchdown. I mean, it was so much fun, but things are always fun when the Bears are winning.
Yeah, I actually, it threw me through a loop because I went outside. I'm like, wow, it's still light outside. What's going on? I'm like, it's 2:00. That's why. And so my whole internal clock was messed up because the Bears played at 9:30. I had watched an entire 3-hour football game and the early games didn't even start yet. It was actually kind of cool. I don't know if I'd want to do it every week. That's like the equivalent of living on the West Coast and the early games start at 10 every week. I'm not sure if I'm totally into that, but it was kind of a cool change of pace.
You know what, John? I elect that instead of primetime games, we get these 9:30 games because I don't know about you, but I love this a lot more. I'll just stay up till 2 a.m.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm watching the game until 11. We used to do the post-game show. I was up until 1:30 or 2 in the morning. Yeah. I'm not down with that. Yeah. Let's do more early morning games.
Yes. And there was plenty of things to be excited about with this Bears offense on Sunday. Obviously, the spotlight is mostly on rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. But, John, outside of Williams, who really stood out to you on the offensive side of the ball that gives you more confidence moving forward? You know the drill, 55 seconds.
Well, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to mention two guys. First and foremost, it looks like Keenan Allen can be the guy they hoped they signed. We talked about him last week, that he just needs to be the sure-handed chain mover, and the production will follow. Well, I'd say 5 catches for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns is a pretty productive day. We saw him get to the first down marker. We saw him get into the end zone. If Keenan Allen can stay healthy, watch out, because he is just another security blanket for Caleb Williams. And then, honestly, it's hard not to be excited about Cole Kmet. 5 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on one of his touchdowns, he absolutely trucks the defender. That was a Chicago Bears touchdown right there. Secure the catch and then run through anyone who is trying to keep you out of the end zone. We all knew of Cole Kmet's talent. Heck, he had a 10-catch performance against Indianapolis. But to see him scoring like that on Sunday, it gives you a lot more hope moving forward that Caleb can rely on a number of guys once they get close to the end zone.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, Keenan Allen, I was so excited. It was like, welcome to the party, Keenan. We've missed you. Now that you're healthy, now we can see exactly what it means to have him in this offense and just how important it's going to be for Caleb's development as well. And Cole Kmet pulling double duty there as the emergency long snapper, and then just catching 2, no big deal, catching 2 second quarter touchdowns there. I also was, really encouraged by Tevin Jenkins, had his best game of the season. And it was a reminder of just how good he can be, just how mean and nasty when he's healthy. And that's what we need more of with this offensive line to continue to get better, especially when we have this difficult slate coming up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, we didn't bring up the offensive line till right now, and it's maybe that's a good thing, because it wasn't a point of disaster. It wasn't the glaring need that we've saw the first couple weeks. So props to the line, I guess. So I didn't spotlight them, but yeah, you think about it. If we're not talking about them, that might be a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, they did go up against some really tough defensive lines, too, in Tennessee and Houston to open up the season. So, I mean, it's definitely better when you're not going up against some of the best. But It is encouraging, like you said, when you're not talking about them. That is a good thing.
Sure.
So, John, going into this season, most people assumed that the NFC North would be a good division, but few predicted that it would be this good. Every team in the division is over 500, and the surprising Vikings stand on top of the NFC North with a perfect 5-0 record. So while the Bears could be in the playoff hunt at the end of the season, how do you see them stacking up with Minnesota, Detroit, and Green Bay when they finally enter division play in Week 11? 55 seconds, ready, set, go.
Well, there's no doubt that this is the best division in football, but things are going to start getting serious very soon. There's only really been one division game in the NFC North so far, and it was when Minnesota defeated Green Bay in Week 4 when Jordan Love was returning from injury. Look, I get Detroit is probably the class of the division, but the Bears always play them tough, and now they're going to be without Aiden Hutchinson for presumably the rest of the season after that horrific leg injury, and you never want to see that no matter what team they play for. But then Minnesota, they're undefeated, and they've beaten some good teams, but how much do you really believe in Sam Darnold, or is it a belief in Kevin O'Connell? Does the clock strike midnight eventually for the Vikings once they get into the heart of division play? We're going to learn a lot more about that this Sunday when they take on Detroit. And Green Bay, what can I say? I never feel good about Green Bay. Why should I? Since I was born, the Packers have beaten the Bears 52 of 73 times and are currently 8-0 in this decade. So hopefully they can turn the tide. But yeah, the division's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, they're even better than I think a lot of people imagine. They have, a 17-5 combined record between the 4 of them through 6 weeks. It's just incredible. And when you look at what the Bears have to do, like when they eventually hit division play in Week 11, 6 of their last 8 games are going to be against this division, which is a lot tougher than we expected coming into this. So like you said, Minnesota has been a really big surprise. I think that defense is going to continue to keep them in this thing, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they fare against some of these offenses in the NFC North. It's going to be really exciting. Like you said, Aiden Hutchinson, that's a huge loss for the Lions, but again, they're still going to be a contender. That's just a really well-rounded team, best offensive line in the division. And the Packers are just, I'm always scared of them. I think they might, obviously, I think they're I'm not inferior, but I'm not as worried about them as an overall team as the other two, but there's just something about when the Bears play the Packers that it doesn't go well, but hopefully
Yeah.
we're going to turn the tide here with Caleb. So we'll see.
For me, it's I never feel good, like I said, about those Packers games until they actually beat them. I won't feel like comfortable going into those games because they haven't beat them yet this decade, and they haven't won a decade against the Packers, I think, since the 80s. So it's like it would be nice to start to turn the tide a little bit there. But yeah, we're gonna learn a lot because we said at the beginning of the season, the Bears are kind of lucky that they don't enter division play till later on because it gives time for Caleb to get his feet underneath them. It gives them time to start clicking and build some chemistry. So we'll see if that really does play out. Now, obviously, this is a league of attrition as well, and you're hoping that you're not too banged up as you enter division play. But time will tell. We still got a few more weeks before that happens.
Yeah, the NFL gods or the schedule makers really helped us out there with putting that division slate near the end of the schedule, let Caleb get warmed up. So, John, as we know, the Bears are entering their bye week, and some believe that a later bye week helps a team get healthy late in the season when they're in the middle of a playoff push. Some think that the earlier bye week can be a good opportunity to regroup and evaluate the first few weeks of the season. Where do you land on the Bears having a relatively early bye week? Break it down in 55 seconds.
So normally I'm on the side of wanting a later bye. It can provide a break during a grueling season, and some guys might be physically and mentally exhausted around weeks 10, 11, or 12, and that bye can really provide a break. But as for this Bears team, they're building momentum, and they've won 3 games in a row, and they're finding their way on offense, and then you just kind of shut it down with the bye week. So maybe I don't love the early-ish bye, but it's not without its benefits as well. They're a little banged up on defense. They were without Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson last week, and Kyler Gordon hurt his hamstring. So it's going to give them an extra week to heal up. And they also have a big game against Washington that just got flexed to the afternoon on October 27th. So now Matt Eberflus has 2 weeks to prepare for Jaden Daniels. So maybe that can give them an edge. All in all, I'm not sure it's going to make a huge difference one way or another, but I can tell you one thing. This coming Sunday will be an anxiety-free day of watching football because the Bears won't be on.
Absolutely. And I'm excited too because I'm going to see Taylor Swift the night before. So I don't have to work the next day, which it couldn't have worked out perfectly. But again, I am a big fan of the early bye week, at least right now, because like you said, it's going to allow some time for guys like Brisker, Stevenson, and Gordon to heal up. And Scott Daly, obviously the long snapper filling in for Patrick Scales. Yeah. So we don't need to see Cole Kmet again, even though he did a really good job. Sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously I feel like the Bears have either had like a really late bye week or, now we're getting the early bye week. But I mean, I guess I'm just excited, like you said, to have an anxiety-free Sunday and just get to enjoy some football and not have to really worry too much. And like you said, that Commanders game. The one thing, though, I am nervous about is we've seen how the Bears coming off of a bye week, how they have struggled. So let's hope that Matt Eberflus has his team ready for that big game against the Commanders.
Yeah, I think at least the way that I always thought about it was bad teams want an early bye week to regroup and try to reset their season. Good teams want that late bye week to get that extra week of rest before they make their playoff push. I think the Bears are in the middle right now, and that's why I'd prefer a bye week in the middle. But you know what? It's like I said, it has its benefits. It might have its drawbacks. We'll see how they come out against Washington coming out of the bye week. We'll see if it really did have its benefits.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game. Really, a really good week to have off here. So, John, we're going to end with this. If you were on social media at all, the downplaying of the Bears' success started about a week ago and continued after their game against the Jaguars. That's because the Bears have yet to defeat a team over 500, and their wins have come over opponents with a combined record of 4-18. So as the Bears enter their bye week with a record of 4-2, is it too early for Bears fans to be overly hopeful? Bring us home. No clock on this one.
Okay, I get it. It's just the Jaguars. It's just the Panthers. It's just the Titans. But we aren't that far removed from other teams saying it's just the Bears. Remember those days of hopelessness? By downplaying the Bears' competition, you're actually elevating them from a bottom-tier team to at least the middle of the pack. Listen, hope is what makes football great. We wait 8 months during the offseason for football to come back. That anticipation and hope is an incredible feeling. But if your favorite team starts 0-6 or 1-5, you lose all hope before the season's even a third of the way over. And right now, our favorite team is 4-2 with a great defense and a rookie quarterback that looks like he's figuring out the game. So as a Bears fan, it's never too early to be hopeful, because I remember this time last year when the Bears were 1-5 and we were already talking about mock drafts and free agency. So Bears fans, don't let anyone ruin your party. Enjoy it. Embrace the hope when it's there, because we all know what it feels like when there isn't any. That'll do it for the B55 segment. We got a lot more Bears talk coming up, but first, let's take a look at what else is happening with our Bears coverage here at the Barroom.
Bears.
Because of the way they play the nickel corner here, and the nickel corner plays 88-85% of the snaps. He's got to be like part linebacker.
The Bears.
When you're in a scouting room, there's going to be differences of opinion.
The Bears.
Well, you're looking at traits. And remember when he tested very, very well.
The Bears.
Greg, why are teams wrong on quarterback evaluation so up?
Number one, it's a hard position to evaluate.
Former Bears scouting director Greg Gabriel talks football live every week on the Barroom Network. Also available on demand.
Welcome back to Buffone 55. Danny is with us and is going to use some tape to illustrate the impressive play of number 18. But before we start with him, let me roll this week's video from the Podfather, because his subject is a good lead-in to our first topic in Buffone's basement. Caleb Williams.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams.
The feeling inside of me first started to build up the night of the 2024 NFL Draft when Caleb Williams let out that primal scream and clutched his Bears jersey with a certain pride that made me ask, could he really be the one? Prior to then, I had not allowed myself to totally buy into the Caleb hype. I wanted to. I saw what he did at USC. And even after the loss to Notre Dame,
retreats, and now he throws another interception.
Crying on mom's shoulder.
Backpedaling, they got him with the first time, lost the football.
The 5 losses in his final 6 college games. I could tell he had that special 2-letter word that you use to describe great quarterbacks. It. It is difficult to describe what it is. You just know it when you see it.
Brady looking for 5. Getting end zone, and it is caught. Touchdown, and Brady has just done something this league has not seen before. 5 touchdowns, 1 quarter of action.
The thing is, I've only seen flashes of it from Bears quarterbacks.
During the 70s, Bobby Douglas could throw a football farther than any quarterback in the NFL.
First started watching the Bears when quarterback Bobby Douglas launched a ball 70 yards in the air for a touchdown with a broken wrist. He threw for 4 touchdowns that November day in 1970. He had it, until he didn't, which was pretty much the rest of his career. Fast forward to Jim McMahon. The punky QB had it. I'll never forget 1985, Week 3. The Bears are trailing because McMahon was in the hospital most of the week with a bad back. He comes in and he throws a touchdown pass on his first throw.
Has taken over for the Bears. Pressure on the first play and wide open. I love it. Willie, don't forget it. If he gets behind you, it's over. And McMahon paid the price, but he got the touchdown. 70-yard touchdown.
He threw 2 more and helped lead the team to a Super Bowl title. But McMahon, in his career, had only one 300-yard passing game, never a 3,000-yard passing season. And he often found himself playing in pain that he sometimes brought on with his brash, antagonistic play. The list during my lifetime of quarterbacks the Bears acquired to potentially be the franchise quarterback is long.
The Chicago Bears select
It's sad.
Mitchell Trubisky.
It's frustrating.
Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
But most of all, it's all heartbreaking. And that's why this old, decades-long Bears fan has developed a calloused approach to Bears quarterbacks. Until now, Caleb is changing.
Playmaker strip in the pocket. Caleb throwing open. DJ Moore inside the 15, the 10, turns it up to the 5. Moore getting
His leadership. His smarts. His production. His arm. His magic. He has it. Now, could I be wrong? Will this be another blow to my Bears' heart that can hardly take any more heartbreak? I gotta say, I believe Caleb is the one. Now, I have a rule that I have developed after many years of disappointments. I never buy a Bears jersey of a player until he has proven himself with years and years of stellar play. I have Butkus, Sayers, Ditka, and Peyton. Those are the only Bears jerseys I've ever purchased. Until today. With Buffone 55, I'm Aldo Gandia.
Wow. Aldo's putting his money down.
Wow.
On Caleb Williams' jersey.
Way to go.
Wow.
By the way, another incredible video there by Aldo Gandia. We are spoiled with these weekly videos we get from him, and then going out and buying a current Bears player's jersey, something he doesn't do, and he did it in a guy's rookie year. How about that? We were talking a little bit before.
And pulling up all 22 copy of Bobby Douglas highlights. I mean, that's
yeah. Well, I mean, it was to take I'm pretty sure my uncle said about Bobby Douglas, he could run like a donkey, but could not hit the bull in an ass with a banjo as far as being a quarterback. So that his words, not mine.
Like a lot of Bears quarterback scouting reports.
Yes. So we talked a little bit about this off air, but I want to bring it up. Alyssa, who was the last Bears player that you bought while they were still playing? What jersey was the? Well, let me rephrase that because that was all over the place. What was the last Bears jersey you bought of a player who was currently playing for the Bears?
Caleb Williams.
Oh, really?
I am someone who I'm the opposite of Aldo. I am gonna go out and I'm really excited. I'm the one on draft night. I'm ordering it, and then I have to wait months for it to come. But before Caleb Williams, it was DJ Moore, for what it's worth.
So you lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
Danny, how about you?
I've never purchased one myself. The last one I was gifted one was Justin Fields.
Nice. The last one I bought was that for a player that was currently on the Bears was a Devin Hester jersey with the Super Bowl patch on it. I bought it of the week of the Super Bowl when they were going to Miami. I was like, I gotta get this. It was an authentic stitched Hester jersey with the Super Bowl patch on the shoulder. That's the last one that I actually bought. I was gifted a Khalil Mack jersey, I think the offseason before he was traded. So that was unfortunate. But at any rate,
you want to talk about bad jerseys? I can give you a ton of list of bad jerseys.
Yeah, I just saw that.
You don't want to see the trunk of jerseys that I have.
I forgot. Aldo put it in the chat that I do own a Rick Meyer jersey. That's like 6 months that he was on the Bears. I do have I think I got it at Value City, if anybody knows what that is. I got a Rick Meyer jersey when I was in I would have been in like 3rd grade, 4th grade. I don't know what it was, but also it still fits me. So that tells you how large I was as a child, because that jersey still fits me. But
I think I could top you. I got a Caden McNown jersey.
Woo!
Yeah, I knew I could top you. I knew I could top you.
Well, Danny, I don't know if you were doing any scouting back then, but you big
no,
Caden
I
guy?
was watching the draft. I'm like, oh, this guy looks good from USC, from UCLA. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, Danny wins that.
Listen, do you know what the first jersey was that you bought?
The first that I bought, the first that I got was an Anthony Thomas jersey for my dad. Yes, A-Train. As the first one I got, and I remember wearing it to school. I was in middle school, and one of my teachers was a Packers fan, and he was really giving me some. And I was like, that's when my hatred for the Packers started right there. Before I even really was entrenched in it. But yeah, Anthony Thomas, my first jersey.
Plus, A-Train was a Michigan Wolverine as well, so that's double.
Yes, go blue.
I did have a Marty Booker jersey. I saw Dr. Truth just talk about Marty Booker. I had a Marty Booker jersey, and then I was so sad when they traded him. And then it kind of worked out because they got Wally Ogunleye out of that. And I think that was the trade that they got out of that. Yep. So that all worked out. But at any rate, Danny, every week, back to the Bears, the current Bears, every week you break down some plays, and every week I'm excited to hear about it and excited to watch it. But this week I'm a little more stoked because I'd like you to explain some of the magic that Caleb Williams performed against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, before we get into the clips here, John, and what I wanted to stress to the audience is what I'm going to do and break down here is not only Caleb Williams in terms of his development in the pocket, but what he does, taking that Polaroid of the defense pre-snap and then post-snap, how he's knowing decisively what to do with the football, going through his progressions, and also I want to put an emphasis on terms of his ball placement and accuracy from the pocket. Again, that's one thing that the Bears were stressing was getting Caleb in the pocket, being able to make throw these fantastic throws from the pocket. And he's developing only 6 games in. We already see that progress there, and as well as Shane Waldron drew up some nice design plays last week with some creativity there. We'll touch on that, and also I want to touch on Keenan Allen. Finally apparently fully healthy and seeing the positive effect that he has on this offense when he's out there and what he brings to the offense. So with this first clip here, although if you're ready to go ahead and launch it, this first one here is 3rd and 5. It's in the second quarter. This is the first down conversion here from Caleb. All right, and the one thing that I want to show you here again in the pocket. I'm sorry, in the formation pre-snap, he sends Roschon Johnson in motion. That shifts the linebackers a little bit to his left. Once that shift happens, although it's subtle, Caleb right there knows where he's going to go with the football because he knows where Allen's going to run. He knows he's got one-on-one coverage, and he's just going to go and rip it right there to Keenan Allen. So once that shift happens, that's him taking a Polaroid pre-snap of the defense, and then once that ball is snapped, you see what the defense does, and then we see here again the ability to go ahead and drive the football, lead Keenan Allen away from the defender, right? What I call when I scout, you hear me talk about quarterbacks, I'll talk about throwing a receiver open. This is a good example of throwing a receiver open, throwing it to a spot, leading the receiver away from coverage, and then the ball placement. It's only there where Keenan Allen can make a play on the football. The defender has no chance of reaching around and knocking it down. There's nobody else coming from the other side and tipping in and intercepting it. So again, these are things that Caleb is developing here early on from the pocket, right? So that's the first play, and I want to kind of continue here with the next play. Although if you're ready, the second play here, to me, this is a big time throw. I mean, I saw this play and I was like, damn, it gets me excited, guys. This is the first touchdown to Keenan Allen, again, 3rd and goal. The first thing I wanted to kind of show here real quick is the motion, right? Bringing the motion in. This is Shane Waldron here, bringing in Keenan Allen from the outside the numbers, motioning him and setting up that trips formation to the right. Puts the linebackers now in play in terms of coverage. All right. So now that kind of gives Caleb an idea in terms of where he's going to go with the football. Once that ball is snapped, as we get it going here, Keenan runs a great route in terms of cutting right behind Roma Dunze and then in front of Cole Kmet. We'll wait for the tape to come back up here real quick. Take a snap. I'll take a little bit of a. You want to rewind that real quick, Aldo? Start from the beginning, or you want to just pick up from where you're at right there? I can go either way. But anyway, just take a look at Keenan. Once he shifts down in motion, takes a nice route that goes right behind Rome and in front of Cole Kmet, putting the DB and the two linebackers in coverage hell kind of. They're not knowing who to pick up there. The linebacker, Lloyd, ends up being on Keenan Allen, and then Keenan does a great job of being able to go ahead and stem that route from the top of the route, creating a little bit of a separation there, right? So that's route running from Keenan Allen, being the crafty veteran there. And then Caleb, now knowing he's got Allen inside on a linebacker, puts it. This is what I talk about, NFL type throws, right? We're talking about NFL always has tight window throws. If you're going to be an NFL quarterback, you have to make these type of throws. These are called tight window throws. And again, he's putting in a spot. The ball placement is excellent. There's only Keenan Allen can make the play on that ball. If he drops it, move on to the next play. There's no chance, chance a defender gets his hands on it. There's no harm, no foul right there. But he puts it right on Keenan Allen. Keenan's not even looking at Caleb when the ball's already released. So he's got it to a spot. Keenan kind of turns on halfway, and the ball's on him already. He reaches out, makes that catch. That right there got me so excited because you want to see that type of development. And again, one thing we want to go, and we'll go on to some other clips here, but the pocket now is developing for him. He's got a solid foundation. He's got both feet, underneath him. He's got a solid foundation, goes through his motion and rips it. Again, tight window throw, accurate, terrific ball placement. Although if you're ready with the third play, we can go on to that one. This one here, this is the second touchdown from Keenan Allen. Again, John, where is he at? Where is he lined up at, Caleb? He's under center. I love when Caleb is under center. And he looks out, sees, again, one-on-one on the outside there. No safety help over the top. Takes 4 steps and launches a ball. Throws it, again, to a spot. Throwing a receiver open, throwing it away from a defender, and ball placement is excellent. These are the type of NFL-type throws that quarterbacks make. And Caleb is doing it in week 6, doing it from the pocket. Again, realizing what he's got to do, realizing his matchup, sees the coverage, how it's lined up, and this is decisive and goes on and throws a perfect ball. These are type of NFL type throws you want to see from this kid make. The one thing that kind of worries me about this play is it looks like someone missed a block because 94 there, Mason Smith, if he just kind of goes straight at Caleb, that could have blown up the whole play. I don't know if it's DeAndre Swift or one of the offensive linemen kind of missed their assignment there, but that was the only thing about that play that kind of worried me was that if Smith fires off the line at Caleb, that could be a bad play there. So that's the third play there. That's the 2 touchdowns to Keenan Allen. Again, the rapport between Keenan and Caleb Williams has always been there, right? They have that connection going back to LA. And now with Keenan being healthy, now we're seeing that develop here. And Keenan Allen is a huge asset when he's healthy because he gives you that precise route runner, the ability to stretch away from his frame and extend his hands out and snatch a ball out of the air, and the ability to beat press coverage in tight areas like the slot, for example. And when there's a condensed area, create that that separation. And this fourth play here, we're going to show you some of that as well here, where this is basically the game that's the play that seals the game for them. 4th and 3, 6 minutes left in the game. Once again, he's got his one-on-one outside. He knows what he's doing. Gets the ball, 1, 2, 3 steps, bam, throws it right to Keenan Allen. Again, leading him away from coverage, ball placement, accuracy. You love it. And Keenan Allen, being the vet that he is, the big third down, conversion guy, does here as well. And this is what he brings to a Bears offense. Again, we see the press coverage, beats the jam, gets inside leverage, shows his numbers to Caleb. Caleb then just fires a strike. They're both on the same page here. He knew where he was going pre-snap. He just wanted to make sure that everything post-snap happened the way he was looking at it. It does. 1, 2, 3, rips it. Bam. Again, accuracy and ball placement. Phenomenal job by Caleb Williams. Again, 6th game in his career, and you see that development slowly but surely. You just look at his numbers, right? He's already got 1,300 yards passing. He's got 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's completing 65% of his passes, and his quarterback rating is consistently getting higher. He went from 51% week 1, and then this past game was 124.4. So that's you see a guy just cutting the trajectory, just going better and better and better. Now, and then we see some offensive line play where he's giving him a pocket to form up, and solid foundation. Doesn't have to worry about moving his feet. Doesn't have to rush his processing. He's going through his progressions. He's making accurate throws with precise besides ball placement. And then again, I've been harsh on Shane Waldron, but you got to give him kudos here. You know, that there was that touchdown that we don't have here in the clips here, but the first one to Cole Kmet, that was a heck of a play design. And I just showed you that one there on Allen's first touchdown, where bringing Allen in motion, forming that trips formation on the right side, puts those linebackers now into the coverage play, right? And now Allen runs his precise route, creates some sort of confusion, and then gives Caleb a tight window. Bam, he hits it with accuracy and ball placement. And next thing you know, this is how an NFL offense develops. And we're seeing this happen right before our eyes.
Yeah, great play from Caleb. Great breakdown from you, Danny. And something that's really stood out for me, too, in that game was Caleb's affinity for the hurry-up offense, which I think is where he's at his best, and he's able to, adjust plays at the line, and we really see him thriving there. We saw his success, with the hurry-up throughout the game, whether it was, one of his touchdowns to Colt Kmet or, even catching the Jaguars with 12 men on the field and getting that penalty, which is huge, especially seeing that from him in only week 6. Just seeing his operation improve, I think, with each passing week, seeing that he does better in the hurry up, I think that we're going to see a lot more of that from Shane Waldron's offense moving forward. But just really impressed how he just continues to build off every game. And crazy to think that there are people that were counting him out after the first 2 weeks. And it's like, can we calm down and let it play out? It's, even 6 weeks is too much, too early to overreact or underreact, depending on it. So just really good play from Caleb.
Yeah, and something that I always look for is how an athlete or even a person in general reacts to or moves past a mistake. Are you going to hold your head, or are you going to pout about it? Or are you going to let it dictate the rest of your performance throughout the game? And something that really impressed me was after Caleb threw that interception. I think it was meant for DJ Moore. It kind of got hung up in the air. I was impressed on him kind of using that mistake to fire him up. And I believe Aldo, do we have a clip from this post game?
I got to be better. Definitely frustrating. Definitely had a few words for myself after that, but got the mindset back on track and ready to go for the next drive.
Well, I think the next 4 drives when you came out, you guys scored on all of those. Did you feel a little extra juice from that specific play?
Yeah, I was a bit pissed off at myself, just because those are passes that I don't miss, that you don't want to miss, and do something like that. And so I was a bit pissed off after that, and I think resetting myself was important, but still having that in the back of my mind, like can't have that happen again, and let's go out here and go score.
Yeah, so like I was saying, is like using that to motivate you, using that mistake to say, that's not going to happen again, and I'm going to go score a touchdown right now, rather than like, oh man, I better not do that again, or I better be very cautious with the football, or I better just keep checking it down, I better not do this, rather than, instead saying, not, we're going to fix that, and we're going to go downfield, we're going to score. So I really like that mentality, and they're going to have that mentality as they go past this bye week, and they go now into a quote-unquote primetime kind of nationally televised game against the Washington Commanders. Listen, this game is going to get, after this next week of games, this game is going to get juiced up so much because it's the number 1 overall pick versus the number 2 overall pick. Jaden Daniels came out of the gate on fire, on track to have one of the best rookie season of all time for a quarterback. I want to go around the horn here. Danny, I'll start with you. What is the importance of that game against Washington outside of like the media narrative? What do you think? Do you think it means anything to either one of those guys as far as, does it mean more to Jaden Daniels to prove that the Bears should have taken him? Does it prove for Caleb Williams to say, hey, you made the right decision in picking me? Or is it just a whole bunch of stuff to try to get people to tune in at 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3:25 in Central Time?
It's going to be hyped up. It's going to be all a bunch of bull. It's really nothing. I mean, these are 2 young quarterbacks, went 1 and 2 in the draft. And, Jaden got off to a little bit of a better start than Caleb. But Caleb, and that's fine, because Caleb in the shadows now is developing, getting better and better and better. And then, Caleb was my number 1 rated quarterback in between the 2. And I think both are going to be very damn good quarterbacks in the league. And there's no way to pit one against the other. I know it's all national media stuff, but I think the Bears can go in there and they can beat Washington. I mean, Washington's 4-2, but they haven't impressed me. I've watched almost all their games, and I mean, Dan Quinn does a pretty good job in terms of dialing some pressure. So that's something we're gonna have to take a look at in terms of making sure you keep Caleb protected, keep him upright. And Jaden gives you gives Washington that dual threat from that backfield in terms of being a quarterback that can also throw it in, obviously run it. But they've been relying heavily on that running attack, right, between Brian Robinson Jr. and McNichols, and even a little bit of Austin Eckler kind of sprinkled in there. So that's where the Bears defense is going to have to kill. But this is not going to be a Caleb versus Jaden. It's going to be hyped up that way. But I think the Bears defense is going to be able to come in and slow down and stop that rushing attack by Washington, and then kind of contain Jaden Daniels in the pocket. And hopefully they get their secondary players back and they're healthy. And I think Bears have a hell of a chance to go in there and get a victory. So, I mean, Washington hasn't impressed me that much. And I think the Bears are continuing to get better on offense. And I think they can go in there and definitely pull out a victory. Plus, Chicago has a secret weapon. John Buffone was going to be on site, and he's our secret weapon. He always brings back victory. So I'm confident in this one.
First of all, I don't like this pressure that's on my shoulders now that every time I go to a Bears game, I'm the reason they're going to win. Now, this has only been going on for like the last 2 or 3 years where every game I've gone to, they've won. But before that, I did not have a glaring record like that. So maybe I'm just hitting a hot streak. But yeah, I will be at that game to watch Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Alyssa, in your opinion, is there a team that has more pressure on them to win that game? Is there more pressure on Washington, more pressure on Chicago, or is it once again just one of those games that you're just same as it's just another game?
Yeah, I think I agree with Danny with the media hype that I think, the media is going to make it that this is more of a must-win game for the Bears than the Commanders. There will be a lot of, if Jaden Daniels outperforms Caleb Williams, and it'll be like, the Bears should have taken Jaden Daniels. So I just combined the two of them there. But I mean, both can be really good quarterbacks. I think they're going to be, and it's okay. They both got the guy. They both got a guy. They got their guys. So I'm really excited to see how both of them perform on I guess next Sunday. So I don't think there's more pressure on one team or the other. We're going to be in week 8. There's still a long ways to go in the season. They're both going to, the Bears will be 4-2. We'll see what the Commanders are going to be because they do have a game this week. But I think the media will make it out to be that there is more pressure on the Bears and specifically Caleb Williams, depending on, how he performs compared to Jaden Daniels. But let's just let them both, I would love to see, I don't think we would see a blowout because this Bears defense is really good, but let's see them both go back and forth. I mean, I think that'd be a really good game.
It's going to be interesting. Go ahead, John.
No, I would say I think that the only thing that's going to come out of this is more media narratives, regardless of who wins. Because if the Commanders beat the Bears, then it's going to be about the Bears are frauds because they didn't beat anybody going into that game, and then they lose to a game. But I don't think that if Washington loses, that everyone's going to say that Washington's a fraud because of the love fest that's been going on with Jaden Daniels and the fact that their division is not nearly as good as the Bears division. The AFC or the NFC East is floundering as far as the struggles that are going on in Philadelphia and Dallas, and the Giants they also have a football team, but it's like you look at that division versus the NFC North, which people are calling the best in the league, and so you're going to be. I think people are going to be judging these teams differently, and I think if the Bears lose, they're going to be written off because that's what people do. And then, but if they win, I'm not sure if it moves the meter too much. We'll see. I think that, but it also depends on, style points, who wins by how many and how you win it. So that's why they play the games. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But Danny, you were going to jump in?
No, I'm saying both quarterbacks could go on and have really good games, right? And then the Bears could lose, or obviously Washington could lose as well. So I'm just saying it's not one thing where I'm going to be like, oh man, the Bears lost, they should pick Jaden Daniels. No, if you scout players, you believe in these players, and to me, even with Jaden's success early on, I still believe that Caleb was the right guy to pick with number 1 overall. And I think, giving them more protection, giving them a little more diverse offensive play calling, giving them, Keenan Allen back healthy again, and along with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. I mean, I think just going to continue to see Caleb get there. The kid doesn't get fazed by this stuff, in terms of Caleb. He was living by himself when he was in high school. So he's been under pressure, under this national spotlight since high school. This guy's always had the high expectations and all that stuff. So, Jaden's been a 5-year senior, his 5th-year player at LSU. So he might be a guy that might be buying into the hype. I'm not sure, but he's also has got that nice, calm, cool demeanor as well. So I don't think neither player is going to get too high. I don't think neither player is going to make a big deal out of it. But the one thing I think the Bears could have here, maybe if you want to think about a little bit of an advantage, remember Caleb was with Cliff Kingsbury last year in USC. So maybe there's some hints or something that Caleb can give the defense and says, hey, if you see this formation, or if you see that, or if you see Jaden do something like this, maybe something will be there. I'm assuming things have changed since USC when with Cliff Kingsbury, but we'll see. But if anything, there maybe Caleb can give the Bears defense a heads up in terms of what Cliff Kingsbury does offensively and what to expect.
It's also a homecoming for Caleb Williams. He's from Washington, D.C., so I'm sure he'll be amped up just for that perspective as well. Alyssa, staying in that same vein, did you have a favorite Caleb Williams play in the game against the Jaguars?
Oh man, there's so many. But I think that first touchdown to Cole Kmet should be remembered as a special play this season. And I got the highlight right here. It's just a great play design by Shane Waldron, with Caleb faking a lateral to the left, then a screen to the right, and that part of the linebackers. And, Kmet was just wide open in the middle of the field, and, then fought his way into the end zone for that first of two second quarter scores. I mean, but it's just a really great play, but there's so many to choose from, which it's nice as a Bears fan now that we have a quarterback that is just putting up so many amazing plays game after game now, that we have this to choose from. But oh my goodness, that first one was really special. That got me out of my chair. I was screaming. I was like, let's go.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I looked at him like, okay, we're that, and then I saw him just uncork the throw down the middle. I was like, oh, let's go. That one, the same thing. It literally got me out of my chair a little bit. I stood up for that. So that was pretty amazing. And obviously, Alyssa, Cole Kmet actually had some other duties, not just catching the football, but had to do some other things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Cole Kmet, just what a trooper. I mean, that was Caleb's game, but I feel like Cole Kmet deserved a lot, and he did get a lot of hype as well for just what he was able to do, stepping in as the emergency long snapper when Scott Daly exited with that knee injury. And I remember there was a cool thing after the game where Kmet was recounting how he found out that he was going to go in to be the long snapper, and Richard Hightower was like, "Oh, Scott's out." And he's like, "Tyler Scott?" He's like, "No, Scott Daly." And then he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go out there and snap this ball now." So I mean, just you gotta give it up for Cole Kmet, just like a Swiss Army knife of a football player.
If someone said, John, go perform a long snap right now, that thing's going 50 yards over wherever it's supposed to go. Like that, don't even expect that to be anywhere in the atmosphere of where it's supposed to go. So that just shows the athletic ability. Now, I believe that didn't they say that it was, I don't know if it was a joke or if it's actually true that he does practice that in case that happens.
Yeah, he practices every Thursday. He practices because he's a backup long snapper. So every Thursday he does long snap, but he never expects to go in because
right.
What's the chance of a long snapper getting hurt?
But when you do, you better be prepared to do that. And speaking of Cole Kmet, Danny, I want to talk about, because I just think that he's becoming one of the more reliable tight ends in the National Football League. And we've talked about this in great detail throughout the years, really, is that his ceiling was never going to be, or his prototype was never going to be a Travis Kelce or a Greg Olsen or one of those guys, or a Vernon Davis, one of those guys that just stretches the field and just takes off and burn you. But he was going to be more of like the Jason Witten, Kyle Rudolph guy that's going to find to be where he needs to be and catch, move the chains, and also be a real big bodied red zone threat. And I think that is something that he has certainly developed in. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and this started a couple years ago, and then obviously last year he took off with Justin Fields, and this year looks like off to a slow start, but now he's kind of picking up here with Caleb. And I think again the excitement with the rapport that Caleb is showing with his receivers, whether it's Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and I want to see that Rome Odunze game happen here as well. So it just gives you more and more options that you can go with here offensively if you're Shane Waldron, if you're Caleb Williams. So yeah, definitely that was my Kyle Rudolph was my comp for Cole Kmet coming out of Notre Dame. But I think he's developed into more of a Jason Witten guy who can get down 10, 15 yards down the seam and make a big play for you there as well. So, and then don't forget that one play where Caleb kind of rolled out to his right, was being chased, and then all of a sudden kind of threw across his body, saw Cole kind of come open off his block from peripheral vision, threw it to Cole. Cole just took off for another 20-some yard gain. So he's becoming that type of a passing threat weapon there for the Bears.
Yeah, he's finding that open space in the field that Caleb can rely on and say, well, when in doubt, Cole Kmet might be somewhere for me to throw the ball, which is great for a young quarterback, and and to keep moving the chains and keep having productive drives. Danny, you briefly brought up Shane Waldron whenever you're doing some of your play tape breakdown. Can you talk about some of the creative play calling as far as the scripting of the first 15 plays or the way that the game flow worked out? Because I think Shane Waldron, as you said, came under a lot of fire in the first couple of weeks, and then is maybe that players meeting or whatever triggered something, and it's been a little different since then.
Right. And when the report came out this past week that the Bears, the one that Leadership Council went to Shane and said, coaches up, they never had a first 15 script, which to me, going back to my days in coaching offensive in college, every high school, college, they all have the offensive coordinator have that first 15 play script. So I haven't come across an offensive play caller yet that didn't have one of those. So it was kind of a revelation for me as well. So he was kind of, now Shane had an idea in terms of what plays he liked and all that stuff, but it looked like he was kind of going off the cuff here early on. And I think what the first 15 does, and to kind of explain to our audience, is, the players know what these first 15 plays are going to be. They kind of scripting, they go over them to practice, they do walkthroughs, so on and so forth. The players have an idea in terms of what's going to come off the play call sheet. Now, if you're just studying, certain amount of plays, and all of a sudden he's just calling plays randomly, I can see where some of the confusion could come in there. So I think, trusting there, listening to his leadership team, and making that, that adjustment there by Shane, I think it's huge. I think we've seen more of a commitment to the run game, right? We've seen, Swift had another good productive game this past week. I like the development of that I formation, power formation with Kramer as a lead back, with Roshan Johnson. I think I like that as well. And we talked about in some of the clips there, I like that, bringing in, motioning in Keenan Allen and forming that trips formation and giving Allen ability to kind of go one-on-one versus that linebacker, putting the linebacker and in a situation where he's got to cover Keenan Allen. Obviously that's a mismatch, and Caleb takes advantage of it. So I think he's helping now design some of this, and the play that Alyssa just brought up, the Cole Kmet touchdown. That's a tremendous play design, play call. So I think he's developing stuff. I think maybe him and Caleb now are getting more familiar with each other. They're saying, all right, which plays do you like, Caleb? And now he's kind of, Caleb's putting input in there and saying, all right, put these in the first 15. And now that what that does is it gives the players on offense some confidence in terms of they know what's coming. Second thing is, you can put in some plays there, whether it's run plays or even like short, pass off plays, where you can get your quarterback in a rhythm and get some easy passes for Caleb and get him going in the rest of the game. So, I think that was a huge thing. And we've seen the production on the field. Once they made that switch, you see the Bears kind of consistently produce more and more, long drive points, so on and so forth. So I think that's something that we keep an eye on here as that develops going into the rest of the season here.
All right. I hate the fact that we almost always seem to limit the amount of time we talk about the defense because most of the time it's eaten up by how bad the offense is, or how, in this case, good the offense is. So let's talk defense. Alyssa, over at Bears Wire, where you're the managing editor, one of your writers, Preston Comer, cited the run defense having their best game of the season. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I think obviously heading into this game, the biggest weakness on this defense was the run defense that had allowed 100 yards in all but one game that season. And then they came out and they had their best outing of the season against a Jaguars rushing attack that was the strength of their offense. Jacksonville came into week 6 averaging, 126 yards a game, which was borderline top 10. And then the Bears ended up holding them to just 68 total rushing yards and 3.4 yards per carry. Travis Etienne, had just 3 carries for -1 yard before exiting the game with an injury. But my biggest concern coming into this game was the Bears containing Tank Bigsby, who had just rattled off a 100-yard outing the previous week. And I'm like, that's going to be a challenge. And they held him to just 24 yards. So that was impressive. Heading into week 6, the Bears were allowing 120.8 rushing yards per game. And this was just, like I said before, the second time this season that Chicago has held an opponent under 100 rushing yards. But obviously with those injuries to the secondary, the Jaguars were able to attack that weakness. But the Bears did what they were supposed to do up front.
Absolutely. And Danny, why don't you go ahead and cover the pass defense? The Bears were without Jaquan Brisker. They didn't have Tyreek Stevenson, and then they lost Kyler Gordon, who was having a heck of a game up to that point. Yeah. And yet they managed to hold the Jaguars' top 3 receivers, Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, and Gabe Davis, to 11 receptions for 111 yards. And that's not bad considering that the Jaguars were trailing almost for 3 full quarters and needed to throw the ball.
Yeah, well, Gabe Davis helped by dropping a couple of touchdowns as well. So, but that's neither here or there. But no, I mean, it highlights the Bears' depth in their secondary, right? So you talked about Brisker being out, Elijah Hicks, jumped in, and he had 2 pass breakups, and then also recovered a fumble. Stevenson was out. Jalen Jones steps in and leads the team in tackles with 10. You talk about Gordon, who I think was having the best game as a Bear, and then he got hurt. Hopefully, that's not a long-term injury, because I would hate to lose him now and kind of push him back here in terms of his progress there. But also, don't forget Terrell Smith, their top backup corner, was also out. Has been out since game 1 of the season. So I mean, Josh Blackwell stepped in and for Gordon when he got hurt. He had the interception on Trevor Lawrence, right? And we talked about Elijah Hicks and also Jalen Jones stepping in as well. So that depth there in that secondary is really kind of stuck out there. But the one thing that for me, a little bit of a worry. I don't want to be a wet blanket here on this Bears hype train here, but just the consistency of the 4 guys getting at the quarterback is not there yet for me, right? You notice that they'll have a great pass rush with just 4 down linemen, and then it goes. There's a period there where there's not enough pressure, and you see Eberflus bringing the blitz, bringing an extra defender, and then generating some of that pressure. So I just want to see that. That the consistency on that the 4 guys rushing, and then obviously dial in some of those extra the extra blitzes. But that's the only thing that concerns me a little bit. It's just I want to see consistency with 4 guys getting after the quarterback. But yeah, the depth in the secondary really shined this past week.
Just had to be a wet blanket, Danny. That's I understand. All right.
I haven't got my jersey yet, so I'm not all the way. No
Fair enough. But okay, it's time to play our new favorite game that I hold as another tribute to my Uncle Doug, and I call it Buy, Sell, or...
This is moronic.
Oh, we are nailing those cues. As we've said before, the Bears are in a very, very tough division. The Vikings are undefeated. The Lions, despite the loss of their defensive star player, Aiden Hutchinson, have a powerhouse team, and the dreaded Green Bay Packers continue to replenish their quarterback position and provide him some support. So how can the Bears make the playoffs in this tough division? Or actually, no. Let's look at this in a different way. Do you buy, sell, or say...
This is moronic.
The idea that all 4 teams in the NFC North will make the playoffs this season? Alyssa, your answer.
So at this point of the season, I'm going to buy, but I'm going to do what you do, John, which is have the option to hold on to my receipt depending on how things are going to shake up down the line. But that's just how good this division has been through the first 6 weeks. 17-5. Every team has at least 4 wins, and every team would be the division leader in most divisions in the NFL at this point, which is just crazy. And believe it or not, this has technically actually happened before, where all 4 teams, the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, have all made the playoffs in one season. And that was back when it was still the NFC Central. And shout out to Jeff Burks for this info. Back in 1994, the Vikings, Packers, Lions, and Bears all made the postseason. Minnesota ended up winning the division with a 10-6 record, and then there was a 3-way tie for second place with Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago at 9-7. So, right now there's really no team in the NFC that scares me right now, although the rest of the NFC North probably, makes me nervous. And if there was going to be a team that does make me scared, it's in our division. So it's not out of the realm of possibility if this current play does continue. And if the rest of the NFC falters, we could see all 4 of them in there. But again, we're in week 6 or week 7 now, technically. So I'm not going to overreact, but I'm going to buy. But I have my receipt with me just in case.
Danny, you buy, sell, or think it's moronic?
I'm going to sell. Unlike Alyssa, I'm not going to ride the fence here. I'm going to sell. Right? I don't need receipts, right? Obviously, this division is pretty tough, but I think Minnesota and Detroit are so far the class of the division. Detroit, obviously, with the big loss of Hutchinson, we'll see what they do. Max Crosby rumors are out there now, and we'll see what happens there with them if they can acquire someone to kind of replace what they lost with Hutchinson. But I think Minnesota, we haven't seen Minnesota yet, but Minnesota is dangerous, guys. I mean, their defense, Brian Flores has those guys playing some crazy stuff. But I'm in that game against the Bears. I'm gonna be very sitting there holding my rosary and just praying Caleb doesn't get killed, because the way Brian Flores dials up defense and pressures and all that stuff, that's something that I don't want to see. But obviously Detroit's gonna be tough. right? And then Green Bay, I think they're third. I mean, they're getting better. There's some inconsistencies there defensively. Jordan Love has had some problems as well in terms of being consistent there. He's turning the ball over a lot more than he's had in the past. So I think with the Bears, I mean, this is great. 4-2, you'll take it. It's better than them in 1-5 or 2-4. But it's a young team. It's developing. It's getting better. If Ryan Poles does go out there and do what we talked about last week, John, is make one of those Poles deadline trades and solidifies that interior of the offensive line, then we're talking, because with Caleb developing, getting better, you protect them now better. You stick to the run game, or at least have a balanced attack. I think you give and you add, the young players getting better. I love what Washington defensive coordinator is doing with the defensive line. You see Booker getting better every day. You don't see sacks. You don't see a lot of the fancy stuff out there, but he's making plays. He's hustling all over the football field. I love what they're doing there, developing. I think Darryl Taylor's going to continue to get better. So defensively, I have a lot of hope. I just continue to get better offensively, and I think the Bears can beat anybody in this division. I just need that offensive line to be solidified, especially when you face Minnesota and Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going to sell for now, just because I think once these teams... Okay, I'm going to sell.
I kept your receipt. It's okay. I got the receipt.
Yeah, I'm going to sell, because I just think that because one division game's been played so far in this division, and I think eventually one of these teams is going to be very bad in division play. I don't know which one yet. I'm hoping it's not the Bears, but I think one of these teams is going to suffer pretty bad in division play, which is going to be enough to really hurt their win-loss record, which will keep them out of the playoffs. So I think that it's very plausible that 3 will, and it's not like the NFC is just stacked top to bottom. There's a lot of underperforming teams in the NFC, so there will be opportunities to sneak into that 7th spot. I just think that one of these teams is going to end up going like 1-5 or 1-5 or 0-6 in division play or something, and it's going to be just enough to keep them out of the playoffs. So I'm going to sell.
The Bears, in my opinion, need 3 victories. In my opinion, they need 3 victories in that division play jumble, right? That part of their schedule, because I think they're going to be 6-2 when they go into that. I think they win the next 2 games.
If they go 3-3 in the division, and then Aldo,
man, I'm telling you, man,
smokes. So
he had it in his pocket, ready to go.
If they go 3-3 in the division, and I think that they can beat the Patriots, and so if they win 3 out of, if they go 3-3 in the division, that would take them up to right now 7 wins, and then they would beat the Patriots, that would be 8 wins, and then I think they can beat the Cardinals or the Seahawks or potentially the Commanders, and that would give them 9. 9 might get you in, but 10 would be a lot better.
I got them going 2-0 after the bye. I got them beating Washington. I got them beating Arizona, and then obviously I think they can beat New England. I think they're 7-2 before you start that division 3 in a row there between Green Bay and Minnesota and the Lions on Thanksgiving Day.
So they would
they're 7-2 going into that stretch right there.
Do you think that if they go 7? Well, yeah. If what you're saying is true, they'd be 7-2 going into division play. If they split division play, then all of a sudden they're 10-7. And that would probably be enough to get into the playoffs, I assume. But before we move on, I want to go to a couple of chat room questions. This one from J2K. Danny, what changes do you see over the bye week? Barroom, Bates, and Jacob Martin could be back, meaning some cuts will need to happen. Also, play calling changes a bit after some self-scouting. What do you think could be changed? What could they change from the bye week, whether it's personnel or play calling?
Well, I think hopefully Ryan Bates will be back. I think he might have opportunity to overtake Coleman Shelton. We'll see. Shelton's been pretty solid once he's got solid guard play next to him. The one thing I think you will see, I think you've seen the last of Nate Davis, guys. I think Nate Davis will be released prior to the next game is my opinion. He's no longer even being dressed for the game, so he's a healthy scratch, and I think that's gonna be a change. And I think you plug in Barroom as a backup or swing guard, if you will, and I think Ryan Bates comes in and now gives you a little more security behind Coleman Shelton. If you want to keep Shelton in there, if he's having a bad game, you want to plug in Bates. I don't like changing centers on the fly because centers are so critical in terms of with a young quarterback, in terms of calling out play protection, so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens there. But I look to see Ryan Bates and Barroom, more so Bates, I'd say, more than Barroom. I think Bates will get kind of thrown into that mix there, whether Matt Pryor keeps the starting job, goes back to being the swing tackle. And then I wanted to see Amadaji, the 3rd round kid. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think Nate Davis gets cut, and I think Bates gets thrown in there, and we'll see how it comes up. In terms of defense, I know Matt Martin had a good start to the training camp, but I think he's missed very much all of preseason, all of the games obviously this far. I don't know if you want to bring him in now. I did complain about not getting consistent pressure with just 4 guys. So maybe if he comes in and jump starts that in terms of providing pressure opposite of Monte on a more consistent basis, we can see him kind of thrown into that rotation there at defensive end. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me, at least, I think we've seen the last Nate Davis.
We'll go to another one, and this one, Alyssa, this is from Dr. Truth. What's their confidence level in shutting down Jaden Daniels whenever they go into Washington?
Oh yeah, I mean, if they can get their guys healthy in the secondary with Brisker and Gordon and Stevenson, then it's going to be higher than maybe I would have expected before. But like Danny said, that front four, they're going to have to get consistent pressure too as well. Force him into the kind of mistakes that they have done to other opposing quarterbacks that they face, both young guys and veterans, that has made this defense just so formidable, is how they're forcing takeaways and how they're helping out Caleb Williams like this. So I think that my confidence is on a high, not super high, because I would like to see more consistency, like Danny said, from the pass rush. But I mean, we'll see, because Jane Daniels has been on a hot streak, so it's not going to be easy. I know he is a rookie, but it's going to be a challenge for sure.
And we'll go to another question. It's about the trade deadline, Danny. This one comes from Berlissimo. It's basically about what they could basically do with the trade deadline. Who are you trading for? What is your max price? And who are you moving out before the trade deadline? And there's been rumors or speculation that the Bears could go after, Wyatt Teller from the Browns. The Browns seem to be ready to just move everybody from their team. They traded Amari Cooper today. Looks like they're just going to try to get everything out of there by the time they have to get rid of Deshaun Watson, even though they owe him a ton of money. But they could be rebuilding with Deshaun Watson there. They could have a top 5 pick maybe and get their quarterback of the future while Watson's still on the roster. Who would you trade for? Is there a position or a player that you would try to trade for?
Yeah, I'm interior offensive line. I mean, I think Jeremiah also Jock, as they call him. I think he is a hell of a player, but I don't think he'd be a luxury on the Bears right now. I think Wyatt Teller, interior offensive lineman, would be a guy. Last week we touched on Alyssa. I know you weren't here, but Quentin Nelson is the name has been kind of thrown out there in terms of the Colts and seeing they might see what they get out of him or for him if their season tanks. We'll see how that goes. But they've been playing. They just won this past week, so that might not even come to fruition. So we'll see. But interior offensive lineman, that's who I'm targeting if I'm Ryan Poles. Obviously, in terms of what I'm going to give up, I'm not giving up my second round pick for Wyatt Teller. I mean, I'm giving up a fourth. Maybe fourth could be a conditional third. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, interior offensive line is where I'm targeting, and that's the position. If I can strengthen, if I'm Ryan Poles, that's where I'm going, and that's what I'm trying to get. So I can give Caleb again that sound pocket. We're just showing those clips, guys. Those 4 clips. Caleb had a nice pocket, forming in front of him. He has a pocket. He's got a solid foundation, both feet planted. He goes to his progressions, and he delivers accurate throws with terrific ball placement. Get this kid an interior offensive line and protect him. Give him that pocket, and this offense was going to skyrocket.
Last question that we're going to take is one from King Book of World. It says, Danny, I hate the moving of the offensive line, but would you try Tevin back at right guard and try Pryor at left guard, since you were talking about interior offensive linemen?
I think right now I wouldn't do it now, because I mean it's set right now. I think Pryor's kind of set in right guard, Tevin set in left guard. If there's a possibility of an injury or something like that, or there's poor play in terms of Pryor maybe just his play dipping really badly, and then you get Bill Murray. We saw I did a spotlight on him a couple weeks ago, and I think he had a tremendous game when he was out there filling in for Jenkins when he got hurt. I think I'd like to see him out there, see some more of him out there. I keep bringing this guy up, Amadaji, the third round kid. Stick him in like left guard. Could it be an option there? We just talked about Ryan Bates coming back, or even Larry Borum. Could those guys be there? But I don't want to switch it out right now. Right now, they looks like they have some sort of cohesiveness built there on the offensive line. Let's keep rolling with this, unless there's an injury, or unless we see a big time drop in terms of play. I wouldn't make any changes at this moment.
All right, before we get out of here, Alyssa, I got a question for you. What was the trade that you think might have been the most impactful today? Would it be Amari Cooper to the Bills, or do you think Devontae Adams to the Jets? Which one do you think will actually have an impact there?
Oh man, I mean the Devontae Adams trade to the Jets is just like they're just like a dumpster fire right now. So I'm going to go the Amari Cooper to the Bills. Just the Bills, I think, actually have a shot, obviously, to make the playoffs and to go a lot further than what the Jets will. And I think that Josh Allen getting another weapon like Amari Cooper, who was on my fantasy team, by the way. So, like, thank God. So, like, maybe I could start getting some more value out of him. But yeah, I definitely think Amari Cooper to Buffalo.
I happen to have Jerry Jeudy on my fantasy team, which shows you how bad my fantasy team is. So he's now going to be the number one in Cleveland. So let's see if he actually gets the ball thrown to him a few more times. Danny, what do you think is the more impactful trade that happened today as far as the wide receivers go? Amari Cooper to Buffalo or Devontae Adams to the Jets?
The Jets are just just dumpster fire. I mean, they're building the Green Bay Packers all over again out there. Good luck to that. They've sold their soul to the devil. Have fun with that. But to me, I'm with Alyssa. It's Amari Cooper. I mean, obviously the Bills have 4-2 now, and they've been doing it with a number of different options there for Josh Allen. I think Amari Cooper gives him that number one type of receiver. Again, not having a great year, but I think that goes back to what's going on in Cleveland. Yeah. I think he's still a decent, deep threat, and I think he's a guy that can provide another element to that offense that Bills don't have right now. Once they traded away Stephon Diggs, so I think Amari Cooper to the Bills, I think that was a huge get, and I think that we'll see them offensively kind of take off from here as well.
Could be a big move as the Bills, well, obviously are picked to go to the playoffs. The Jets, I don't know. There's just a lot going on there.
Everyone's throwing receivers under the bus. He's doing his all stuff, and he got his boy Devontae Adams on. We'll see what happens. Adams hasn't been playing because of a hamstring injury. He's a great receiver, but I just don't know how they are going to go ahead. There's too much going on in with the Jets. I think that's going to just eventually just sink.
Plenty of drama, not enough wins, but that's neither here nor there. That's not our problem because we got the Chicago Bears right now on a bye who are 4-2 and things are looking up. So it could always be worse. It could always be worse. But with that being said, the Bears are on a bye, so we're going to take the next week off and return with our annual Halloween special on October 29th. It'll actually only be the second time we've done a Halloween show, but it was so fun last year that we thought we'd do it again. If you missed last year's show, here's a look back to a segment we did talking about the possibility of Jalen Johnson being traded before the trade deadline. That was fun. What's the going rate for a cornerback who now has 3 career interceptions, but is still considered a pretty good cornerback?
Jalen Johnson, as we can all agree, is a solid and I think underrated cornerback in the league. Yeah, he doesn't have the flashy numbers that some others like Trayvon Diggs have.
What's in the basket?
In my opinion, he's not a Ryan Poles guy. Ryan Poles didn't draft him, and Ryan Poles is not going to break the bank to try and re-sign him. And I think if a team comes around and gives Ryan Poles a pick that he likes, I think he will go ahead and ship him out. Man, was I wrong.
Well, and yeah, the scariest part maybe not be the screams and the ghouls. It was what we were talking about, but this is what happens when Aldo starts cutting promos at like 3 a.m. They start getting weird jump cuts going on through them, and there's just things popping out at you. So, but yes, the annual Halloween episode is going to be annual because it's only the second time, but I guess it is annual now that it's in its second year. But yeah, that's going to be October 29th. Going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if I want to give a hint to my costume yet. I think I'm gonna keep it a secret. And yes, my mustache was moving the entire episode. It kept falling off. It was down here at one point, and then during the break, I glued it to my face so it would not move anymore. And boy, it kind of hurt taking that thing off because I was committed to the bit. So I glued it to my face, and then I ripped my skin off afterwards. But you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. You just gotta glue your face if you gotta keep your fake mustache on because Lord knows I can't grow my own. So that's just how it's gonna have to go. Anybody else want to give a hint? Or are we all keeping our costumes a secret this year?
I don't have anything definite right now. I have a couple things in my thought process here in terms of what I want to do, but nothing yet definite.
I mean, I will say because this is going to be coming after the Washington game. So I'm just going to say I hope that when we come on here, we're not going to be crying after that game.
Ooh, that's like a cryptic clue, isn't it? Now you got me, because I don't know what it is. So now you got me thinking. The gears are going a little. I'm not going to spend too much time just pondering, because that's always good. That's always good radio and good podcasting. Just me thinking. But yeah, well, I'm going to try to figure that out, and I'm going to talk to you offline about that. But before we say goodbye, Alyssa, tell us what you're working on over at the USA Today with all the wires.
Yeah, so the Bears might be on a bye week, but we certainly are not over at Bears Wire. We're breaking down the first 6 games with plenty of content, including our early rookie grades, winners and losers, and we're going to be predicting the remainder of the 2024 schedule. And John, the fact that you're going to be at that Washington game is definitely going to factor into that for me. So while you should definitely enjoy this week of rest while the Bears are off, come and check us out at Bears Wire if you want some Bears content.
And Danny, one thing that never takes a bye week is draft season. Which college football game are you most interested in scouting this week?
Well, the big matchup is number 7 Alabama versus number 11 Tennessee. But I think I'm over in the SEC. But I think for me locally here is the 2 teams I'm going to kind of hone in on is Alyssa's number 24 Michigan. They're taking on the 22 ranked or 22nd ranked Fighting Illini. So I think that's going to be a game that's going to be interesting in terms of physicality, offensive and defensive line play. So I think that's the game I'm going to be tuned in and see what happens there between those 2 teams.
Right on, right on. All right. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Buffone 55. We appreciate everybody tuning in, whether it's the live version, the podcast version, the audio version, or the video version. Whether it's your first time or your 55th time, we appreciate each and every one of you. For Danny Shimon and Alyssa Barbieri and Aldo Gandia behind the camera, I'm John Buffone. Enjoy the bye week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
I've had it. I have had it.